Beautiful friends! I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, which means we've got to wait for those tubes to connect themselves all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started on this lovely Wednesday, got to make sure the stream is alive and well. We've been having some inner tube problems, but it seemed like it was working this morning on our members only stream, and it looks like it's working now. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we've got a great stream planned, 3 segments unpacking yet another plot. And what's very curious about this is this assassination plot is not directly connected to J13, but it might be. There's a new story out from the oversight group that is connecting these two things. But today I want to go through a story about a Pakistani national, somebody called Asif Raza Merchant, who apparently tried to hire some feds to take out Trump, to eliminate him. And so we'll go through the indictment, we'll go through the release, the statement from the DOJ, and see what this is all about. Was this an actual real threat, or was this like another kidnapping plot? Oh no, that people were going to kidnap the governor, and in reality the whole thing was just a strange concoction by the FBI, some might say an entrapment type of an offense. And so the question is that happening here as well? We'll go through it, we'll read through the indictment, not long, and we'll see what the DOJ says, because it might actually be connected to crooks. Oversight has talked about that. Then we want to jump into this stolen valor stuff from Tim Walz, because boy, oh boy, this is even worse than we thought yesterday. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time unpacking the statement from the National Guard, who actually the one guy served directly beneath him. And then when their unit got called over to Iraq, oh, guess who left town? Walz says, I'm out of here. Good luck, everybody. And they went over to Iraq, actually served. Then he came back, said that he was somebody who was commissioned under a different rank that he wasn't actually commissioned under. And it was a big thing. Now it gets even worse. Turns out he's saying that he actually went to war, right, with weapons of war. Got a clip of that. He's hanging out wearing special forces caps on for units that he was never a part of. He also, well, there's a lot more to it. I got a bunch of stuff queued up on this, and he is just in hot water. He was saying that he served in Iraq, apparently, and they just stealth edited some other article today. Bloomberg went back and they're like, it's not Iraq. We just left that up for a number of years. What we meant was Italy. Close. They both start with an I. So they just stealth edited it back to say, what we meant was Italy. No. You let this guy parade around as a combat veteran, and he was absolutely not. And so I've got some other clips pulled up. Another gentleman, a lot of people who actually served and didn't lie about it are all speaking out now. And I think this is going to be a real big thorn in their side as this election unfolds, because it's going to just be death by 1,000 cuts every day. We're just going to see more and more of it. So we'll go through that. And there's a great clip from JD, who actually went over there to Iraq, responding to a lot of this. And speaking of JD, in our final segment, it was fun, man. He's on a tear these days. If you had any doubts about JD, if you're like, maybe kind of came out with less than a bang. I didn't think that, but some people were saying that. I don't know who, maybe they were, but regardless, he's on fire lately. He was out yesterday taking 15 minutes of questions, just whatever you want. Then today, he went out onto the tarmac and actually approached Kamala's vehicle, her airplane, and it's like, hello, you want to come out and talk? And it was just really a lot of fun. So we'll go through that. More reaction to the Tim Walz pick from Ron DeSantis and some others out there. And so we've got a lot of fun stuff to attend to, my friends. Grateful that you are here and with us. Now, you know what we like to check in on from time to time here before we get into the business of the day. You know what time it is. Bird flu time! And this was a fun one over from the Hill. They're telling us, they posted this from the Hill. These are their contributors, and it's just an opinion piece. But they say, yes, you should be worried about bird flu. And they say, well, it's, might be coming. You know how quickly COVID started spreading in 2019, but no one knew it yet? Well, bird flu is doing the opposite. It's given us warnings, and now it's all over the place. And the CDC and all the things. And they're like, you better be, boy, if Donald Trump is looking like he's going to win this election, you're going to be bird flued right in the nasal passage, okay? So hard it'll make your head spin. They mean, oh, guess what? You've got bird flu now. You're like, why? Because Trump's up 10 points in the polls. Oh, are you sure I have bird flu? Yeah, and you're going to die, so stay home. All right, so we're getting ready for the next iteration of this. We're glad that you're here. One way you can get prepared for the bird flu situation, our friends at the Wellness Company, they're linked down in the description below, and they've got a contagion prescription emergency kit. Looks just like this down here. I've got mine right here. And what's so great about this is it's a prescription, but it's very easy to get, and I'll explain how you do that. But what you do is you grab one of these things, okay? It's got a bunch of stuff inside, stuff that you'll find useful for things like bird flu, COVID, respiratory illnesses. You never know what's going to pop up. We've got hydroxychloroquine in there, Z-Pak, Tamiflu, budesonide, nebulizers, all the inhaler stuff. It's great. So check it out. You get a guidebook so you know how to use everything. It's backed by research from experts like Dr. Peter McCullough, and it comes from the Wellness Company, and every American should have at least one of these kits at home. Very easy to get yours so you're prepared. You have it in case you need it. twc.health/Robert. Links down in the description below. And when you use code Robert to grab your kit, you're going to save money off your order, baby, and you're going to get free shipping. And so it's going to be quick, much faster than going to a doctor and trying to assemble all of this on your own. You just get it very easy from our friends at the Wellness Company, twc.health/Robert, code Robert at checkout. And these kits are only available in the USA. And so shout out to our friends at the Wellness Company. Thanks for supporting our sponsors and for getting prepared, my friends. All right. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the business on the day. We got 3 segments, and we're talking about this curious connection. And I just, as I was sitting down, saw another post about this. And so let me get that queued up. We've got it ready to go. And let's dig into it because this is an interesting one. A Pakistani national now indicted by the feds for allegedly trying to eliminate Donald Trump. Very interesting story. And this is a separate incident, apparently, from what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th. Or is it? There's a new report from our friends at the Oversight Project. They say new details about this so-called Iranian plot to assassinate Trump are raising serious questions about the security posture at the Butler rally. Our continued review of the mobile data shows that there's a connection, right? So you see here, we're going to come back to this, but this guy is the individual who just got indicted. His name is Asif Merchant, aka Raza Merchant. And remember, we've already talked about what the Oversight Project has done previously. They're sponsored over by the Heritage Foundation. And what they did is they gobbled up a bunch of cell phone data. So you can buy this data, location data, ad data. A lot of advertisers want to, see what your location was and what's pinging off certain stuff. And you can just gobble this data up. It's everywhere. You just have to know how to get it. So they got it. And what they were showing is that Thomas Crooks and people who were visiting his location were also, his residence and his place of work, were also going to D.C. Weird. Crooks people were in Crooks's home and going to D.C. Weird. And they may have been going over to the FBI, right? All these weird connections are happening, and now they're connecting the two. So this guy, Asif Merchant, has now been indicted. Here is what the DOJ said about this. They said, all right, guess what? Pakistani national with ties to Iran was charged in connection with the foiled plot to assassinate a politician. Who could that be? Or a U.S. government official. Okay, that's definitely Trump. They say, all right, look, earlier today, a complaint was unsealed in Brooklyn charging Asif Merchant, a.k.a. Raza Merchant, with a plot for murder for hire. As part of an alleged scheme to assassinate a politician, aka Trump. And so this was actually brought, to be technical about this, by, it looks like a criminal complaint, not an indictment. So this would have been, an affidavit written by a FBI, somebody filing this. They charge him. They don't actually have to convene a full grand jury, which would then return an indictment. They moved much more quickly. So they say, just to be clear on that, but regardless, criminal charges have come nonetheless. Doesn't change the ultimate criminal charge. It just changes how it gets here. So he's been charged. Law enforcement foiled the charged plot before any attack could be carried out. Maybe. I mean, if this guy's connected to crooks or somebody tried to shoot Trump, he was definitely attacked. So for years, says Merrick Garland, oh gosh, what did he write? So let's see what this goober says. For years, the Justice Department has been working aggressively to counter Iran's brazen and unrelenting efforts to retaliate against American public officials for the killing of Iranian General Soleimani. Oh, so that's what it was. So Trump nuked that dude, and then they're going to come back and hit him. Okay. So the Justice Department will spare no resource to disrupt and hold accountable those who would seek to carry out Iran's lethal plotting against American citizens. We're going to read this. We'll see if it's legit or not. I mean, certainly I don't want anybody from Iran trying to take Trump out. As far as I know, it might be the Secret Service, though. So this dangerous murder for hire plot exposed in today's complaint, which we're going to read, allegedly was orchestrated by a Pakistani national. With close ties to Iran and is straight out of the Iranian playbook. Oh, no. Oh, I just had flashbacks to Russian playbooks. Didn't you? I almost threw my back out. Right there. Oh, my gosh. Straight out of the Iranian playbook. Oh, did those 51 intelligence officers who told us that the Russian had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation for Hunter's laptop letter? Did they write this? Did they write this? It says FBI Director Christopher Wray. This whole thing is not looking good, okay? We haven't read the complaint yet. It's not looking good. A foreign-directed plot to kill a public official or any U.S. citizen is a threat to our national security. Now, here's where I'm going to question this. Is this a foreign-directed plot, or is this just some crazy Pakistani national, who might have a mental problem or something? So the complaint was unsealed today. We'll read it. Working on behalf of others overseas. This is very convenient that it's Iran. It's like the whole country is gearing up, or the whole world is gearing up for war with Iran. They're like, oh yeah, they're trying to kill your people. Okay. Fortunately, color me skeptical. We'll see. I could change. We could read through the complaint. I'll be like, wow, that was a serious. Thank God they got that guy. We'll see. I've not read it. According to allegations contained in the complaint and related publicly filed court documents, Merchant orchestrated a plot to assassinate Trump in approximately April 2024, so before what happened in Butler in July. After spending time in Iran, Merchant arrived in the United States from Pakistan, contacted a person he believed could assist him with the scheme. The person reported Merchant's conduct to law enforcement and then became a confidential source. In early June, Merchant met with the confidential source in New York and explained his plot. And we'll read through all of that in greater detail. FBI is investigating this case. We got a bunch of U.S. attorneys on the case. Nobody we recognize for any other cases. But here is the criminal complaint. So, filed against Asif Merchant, Pakistani national, allegedly responsible for trying to hire someone to murder President Trump. Filed under seal, now unsealed. This is the complaint and the affidavit to execute an arrest warrant. And apparently they picked this guy up on his way out of the country, meaning he may have thought this was going to move forward. Let's see how serious this is. He says, okay, Anthony Cipriano for the government swears in as a special agent of the FBI. He says, all right, murder for hire, count one, from at least in or about April 2024 through July 2024. July what? Both dates being approximate and inclusive. Within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, Asif Raza, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally travel in interstate and foreign commerce. He went from Texas to New York. He used a cell phone, and he did all of that with the intention that murder be committed in exchange for money. Now, where does this information come from? FBI agent says, I'm a special agent with the FBI. Been here since 2012. I'm currently assigned to the FBI New York field office. I investigate crimes involving terrorism and espionage, including threats from Iran, Hezbollah, and the Quds Force. Saying the facts in this affidavit come from my personal observations as an FBI special agent, my training and experience and other information. When I rely on statements by others, I only talk about stuff that I can explain. In addition, many of the statements are based on draft English translations of communications that were not originally made in English. Oh, well, now we got that whole complicated thing too, all right? All right, they twist words in English all the time. So now they're going to introduce a translation here. So this dude's like saying stuff in Pakistan. Now, in my training and experience, I have become aware that the government of Iran has publicly stated its desire and intention to conduct operations targeting those perceived to be enemies of the Iranian regime, including Americans. In particular, representatives of the government of Iran have publicly stated the desire to avenge the death of Soleimani, who was killed on Jan 3rd by a drone strike in Baghdad, Iraq. Trump took him out. Now, in August, a member of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard was charged with plotting to assassinate former NSA advisor around D.C. in retaliation for that. Now, based on my training and experience as well, I have learned that in the course of this investigation, I believe that the tradecraft and operational security measures that were used by Asif, as described below, he used coded language, he used multiple cell phones, the removal of cellular telephones to attempt to avoid surveillance, right? So this guy was kind of hiding stuff, are consistent with the person engaged with this type of plotting on behalf of a foreign adversary. Sounds pretty bad. Now, the defendant, Asif, also known as Raza, is a citizen of Pakistan. He was born in 1978 in Karachi, Pakistan. He has stated that he currently resides in Pakistan. He also stated that he has a wife and children in Pakistan, that he also has a wife and children in Iran. His travel records to enter the U.S., he indicated frequent travel. Here's a photo of Merchant here below. Okay, do we know why he's in the country? Let's see. Here's the overview. So he had a plot to assassinate Trump. They're just going to say officials, but we know. Since at least April 2024, Merchant orchestrated a plot to assassinate government officials on U.S. soil. After spending some time in Iran, he flew from Pakistan to the U.S. to recruit individuals to carry out the scheme. While in the U.S., Merchant contacted a person he believed could assist him. The person, in fact, reported Merchant's conduct and became a confidential source. He's sure, I'd love to work with the FBI. That sounds cool. Merchant then, he's like, yeah, this dude's crazy. Well, he'll say whatever you want. What do you want me to do? Merchant asked the CS to assist him in contracting hitman. All right, so Merchant, he's like, hey, dude, like, you know anybody who can like shoot somebody for me? The CS introduced Merchant to two purported hitmen, but in fact, they were undercover feds. Yeah, I know a couple guys, no problem. Let me introduce you to them. Pro tip. Those are feds. Merchant subsequently paid the undercovers $5,000 in cash as an advance payment for the plot to murder government officials. That's a steal, man. That's it? $5,000? Shoot. That's like Gold Bar Menendez money, you know? I mean, he would do anything for like $5,000, like sell out his whole country for $50,000 or nothing. It's like nothing. $5,000, that's it? Wow. So Merchant travels to the U.S. to prepare his assassination plot. Okay, so I thought he was already here. While in the U.S., he contacted a person he believed. Okay, so before this, now on or about April 10th, Merchant flew from Pakistan to Istanbul, then from Istanbul to Houston in Texas on or about April 13th, and he tried to recruit people. Okay, now I was waiting. Soon after arriving in the U.S., he contacted the confidential source under the guise of wanting to discuss potential business opportunities in the U.S. Like, why is he flying here in the first place? On or about April 22nd, Merchant traveled from Texas to New York to meet with the CS in person. He's in Houston doing business, rounding up the crew. He then flies to New York. He then tells the confidential source, which he thinks is his liaison, that he and his uncle in Pakistan sold yarn-dyed clothing, and suggested that the confidential source help Merchant sell the clothing in the U.S. He's like, you know, while we're plotting to kill the president, you know, I was thinking about your clothes. I mean, you know what kind of fabric this is? This is poor quality. We have great quality in my town in Pakistan. So we'll conduct this assassination, and then we're going to get you a new set of clothes. So Merchant then instructed the CS to create a corporation in the U.S., which would enable them to do business together. This sounds like Hunter Biden now. Now, while discussing their business plans, Merchant told the CS that Merchant traveled to Iran 2 weeks before traveling to the U.S. in April. He said, why don't you come with us to Iran? He says, you should come travel over there. I don't know who this confidential source is, but he says, yeah, come on, travel with us. No problem. No, come to Iran. It's great. In approximately May 2024, flies back from New York to Texas. Merchant calls the confidential source on the phone and said, look, I've got an opportunity for you, buddy. You're not going to believe this deal. You want to make $100,000 in the yarn dyed clothing business? Yarn dyed clothing. So it's like yarn that's dyed, right? And you just make clothing out of it. $100,000, he says. Wow, that's a lot of money. Sure. What do you think we can do? Merchant says, okay, how about this? I'll meet you in person. So is this code? It's not yarn dyed? Is that a code word for something? Is that, let's see. Yarn dyed clothing. No, I think it's a real thing. It's yarn dyed. Yeah, it's like actually fabric. Does he have a fabric facility? Hopefully they tell us. I don't know. I'm like, is this like a mob turn? Yeah, we're going to put a yarn dyed sweater on you. And everybody knows that means like they're going to, throw you over a bridge or something. I don't know. But no, it's like a clothing, like put it into the tubes. You can see it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. In fact, you can get it at cottonierfabrics.com. Yarn dyed fabrics available right now. Free delivery over $100. Okay. So now then he wants to talk about it. Man, I got the best yarn you've ever seen, bro. It comes from Pakistan. It's like, no, are you kidding me? Yeah, let's do it. So Merchant then finally admits it. So on June 3rd, Merchant gets on an airplane. He goes from Texas to LaGuardia in New York. The confidential source picks him up from the airport. No, you don't need an Uber. I'll come get you. Drove him to a hotel in Nassau County, New York. Now, while at the hotel, Merchant told the confidential source that the opportunity that he had for the confidential source was not a one-time opportunity. Okay, this is going to be ongoing. You like this yarn, baby? Got a lot more where that came from. Okay, Pakistan's huge. Wait till you see the size of our yarn factory there. So he's talking to him about a one-time opportunity and it would be ongoing. Now then, Merchant then made a finger gun motion with his hand, indicating that the opportunity was related to a killing. What? That escalated very quickly, didn't it? How did we go from yarn into murder, like overnight? What on earth? If you like this yarn, buddy boy, we're going to have a lot more where that came from. FBI's like, oh my gosh, president's under attack. Okay. So I don't know what this even means, right? He's talking about a yarn dyed clothing business, $100,000. Murder for hire are not usually repeat operations. Usually, I mean, you kill the person. Once they're dead, they're dead. You don't need to do it again. It's not a good recurring business model to continue to kill the same person over and over again because they're already dead. So I don't know what the hell this even means. He made a finger gun motion with his hand. Love that yarn, baby. What colors? I got all the colors in the world. Merchant subsequently took the cell phone from the confidential source, put it in a drawer for security reasons. He said, I got to hide this from you. Okay. I don't want you to record this. He then stated that he would give the CS more details about the plan the next day, but he needed the CS to arrange a meeting for Merchant to meet hitmen in New York. What? Okay. So now we're relying on the CS. There's no recording of this, and it goes from yarn to gun pointing to hitmen, like all in the blink of an eye. The next day, Merchant met with the CS in his hotel room again, and they described the scheme. Now, at the beginning of the meeting, so now we got tons of questions about the CS, because now it's the CS's statement. Like, if we're defending Merchant here, as a good defense attorney would, we're asking ourselves, okay, who the hell is this dude? And nobody's recording this, so it's CS versus his word, and we just end this meeting, and he says, I made a finger point. Do that all the time, man. It's just, boom. Hey, what's up? Boom. Nice one. But I'm not actually shooting anybody or anything like that. Shooter McGavin did it all the time in that one movie. That was excellent. Merchant Although that guy was kind of a piece of work, But Merchant stated that he would give the CS more details about the plan, and he just needed to arrange for hitmen. It's like, whoa, wow. Now, they come back the next day at the beginning of the meeting. Merchant again takes his cell phone. He puts it in a drawer again for security purposes, implying that they could be recorded. He's like, man, my yarn is really, really good. And the CS never to speak when the phone was in his pocket. I don't want you to know where I'm getting my yarn sourced from. Yeah, there's a lot of yarn stores. I mean, it's you don't want your supplier to be discovered by anybody, lest they undercut your prices. So Merchant then explained that his plot involved 3 criminal schemes. So he tells the CS, and it's not an FBI agent, I guess. Let's see. That we're going to see where this goes. We're just warming up. We're on page 6 now. Says that the plot involved 3 different criminal schemes: stealing documents or USB drives from a target's home. Let's see. Planning a protest, which is that illegal? And then 3, killing a politician or a government official. Planning a protest, it's like, wait, well, if you're a J6er, yeah, that's definitely illegal. If you're like a Proud Boy or an Oath Keeper, like felon, 28 years, 30 years in prison. So yeah, it's not funny actually. So it's, yeah, that's okay. But if it's like Antifa or anybody else, like they're allowed to do whatever they want. So Merchant stated that the victims would be, quote, targeted here, meaning in the United States. And again, I think he's telling all of this just to the CS. So this is the CS words versus Merchant's words. And I don't know if any of this is recorded. Let's see. He also stated that the people will be targeted are the ones who are hurting Pakistan and the world, the Muslim world. These are not normal people, is what this person said. They're selling really bad fabric, and I can't stand for it. And Pakistan is being exploited. We have much better fabric, and no one's buying it. So in my training and experience, individuals engaged in plots originating overseas to commit acts of violence in the U.S. often obscure the sponsor or the broader purpose of the plot. All right. Okay. So thank you for that, FBI agent. So Merchant instructed the confidential source to arrange meetings with individuals who Merchant could hire to carry out these actions. Okay, now we're looking for some actual criminality. So Merchant then requested men who could do the killing. And we're making sure this is a good translation too. Approximately 25 people who could perform a protest, that's why it's illegal, as a distraction after the murder occurred. And then a woman to do reconnaissance. Okay, so now there's a whole plot coming together. He's like, all right, listen, you need a whole team of people. It's like multiple football teams to get this thing done. What can you do? Merchant told the CS that these individuals needed to be trusted. He also stated that he wanted the hitmen to procure him an untraceable phone so that they could communicate securely. Now, while in the hotel room, Merchant took out a napkin. He placed objects on the napkin to illustrate the potential assassination plot. It's like a Hollywood movie. All right, we're going to hear, it's like Tom Cruise, like, okay, jumping off the roof, 90 degrees over here, going to zip line over from here to here, you get the code. He says, this is what we're going to do. CS like, yeah, totally. Targeting the person to be killed where Trump's going to be, a crowd surrounding buildings and streets. Merchant began planning the potential assassination scenarios on a napkin. And he quizzed the source about how he would kill the target in various scenarios. Specifically, Merchant pointed to the target and repeatedly asked the source to explain how the target would die. But how? Merchant told the CS that there would be security all around him. So how are you going to kill him? An image of Merchant gaming out the assassination plot is on the napkin. Okay. I didn't think we were going to have a napkin. Oh, so they're investigating him. Okay, so this crazy dude is like just in his hotel room. He's like, this is what we're going to do. And here you can see this must be Trump right here. And this must be a Secret Service agent over here. This reminds me, honestly, of when the FBI was, remember when the FBI captured that Lego set with the Capitol building on it? And they're like, this was how they were going to do it. They were moving their little Lego men over to seize the Capitol building. All right. So he's got a napkin. This is the assassination plot. This is it. Doesn't need to be much. It's not very complex. It's just some dude on a napkin. And by the way, I mean, we don't even know if Thomas Crooks even used a napkin. As far as we know, he didn't even use a napkin. So this is a lot more sophisticated than Thomas Crooks, although Thomas Crooks did use a drone. But this guy has 2 little things here. I don't even know what those are. looks like, I don't know, maybe a leftover piece of a roll or something. And that looks like maybe a CO2 cartridge, actually. I don't know what that is. But so you can see this is clearly a lot more sophisticated. Secret Service would have a hard time with this. Like, oh, crap. He has a napkin, too. How'd he get on the roof? How did he evade your entire agency? He wrote it down on a napkin. Oh, my gosh. We didn't even think of that. But was the roof sloped? Merchant instructed the confidential source. He says it would be better to talk in code about the phrase yarn die. Was a code that he used in the past when speaking with the source about the meeting. He says, guess what? I wasn't actually talking about yarn dye. The confidential source responded that he had not realized in the past when Merchant mentioned the yarn dye business that Merchant was speaking in code. So he thought just like we did. He's like, yeah, it's like yarn dye. Like, okay, it's like dyed yarn. Totally makes sense. So he's like, wait. He shows up, the confidential source shows up, and he's saying, we're not talking about fabric today? Merchant told the source that he should use the company that they previously opened to transfer money for the plot. So now it's all coming together. Merchant also stated the plot would occur after he left the U.S. He would communicate with the source from overseas using code words. The source, they would probably detail those out on the napkin. The source then asked whether Merchant had spoken to the party back home with whom Merchant was working. Okay, so who, like the Iranians? Who's in charge of you? Who's your handler? Merchant responded that, yeah, I do have a handler, and that the party back home told him to finalize the plan and leave the U.S. So Merchant then asked the source, he says, hey, are you comfortable with this plan? He says, you know, getting paid is not going to be an issue. We've got tons of money. He said, the nature of this work was different than the criminal activity that Merchant believed that you've done in the past. So the confidential source has a criminal history. And Merchant knows this guy has a criminal history. And so now we have questions about the reliability of the confidential source. Does the confidential source have prior felonies or any of those prior felonies for crimes of moral turpitude? Has he had a conviction for any crimes of fraud, forgery, anything indicating dishonesty that might say this dude's a liar? Anyways, so you're a criminal, but this is a little bit different. You're going to have to actually kill somebody this time. But that Merchant performed the Istikhara from the Quran before doing this. So I guess, does that make it okay? Meaning that Merchant prayed to God about whether he should do this work or not and received clarity from God to carry out his mission. So then on June 5th, 2024, Merchant, the hitman, now met with the CS again, the guy who's trying to hire hitmen, and expressed impatience with the CS setting up meetings. He says, where are these guys? Go find them. Merchant stated the whole purpose of coming to New York was to meet with these guys. He said, okay, well, hang on. So this is weird, right? Because this guy, up until this point, the CS is there thinking they're talking about yarn, literal yarn. Then the CS says, okay, sure, let me find these people. Now he tells Merchant that he has contacted the hitman and he's setting up a meeting. Now, while Merchant waited for the meeting to be scheduled, he instructed the source to drive him around New York City looking for clubs where he could recruit other individuals to assist in his plot. So he's going around from club to club. Those guys look good. Are they assassins? On or about J6, Merchant had the CS, the confidential source, drive him around Brooklyn to scout clubs. Merchant told the source that through their yarn-dyed work, again, code word, God willing, he intended to save up to $1 million. And he believes that they could make up to $1 million through this criminal scheme. So I guess now the story's changed. So you don't have to worry about being paid because I've got a financial backer in Iran or somewhere. But now we don't really have a done deal. So we could make up to $1 million, but it hasn't been settled yet. And now we need to, I guess, determine who's actually funding this thing because now that story's changed. So Merchant hires a hitman to carry out the plot. So then, okay, we're fast forwarding. These guys are like literally driving around New York, probably with their napkin. Just like, I don't know, this guy might fit this role. So Merchant then hires a hitman, right? So on around June 10th, Merchant spoke to the CS, the source, over the phone, discussed meeting the hitman in person later that evening. Now, following the discussion, Merchant and the CS met the two hitmen. who were in fact undercover feds in Manhattan. You're kidding. Everybody's always undercover. Now, Merchant, as you would expect. Now, Merchant advised the undercovers that he was looking for 3 services from them. He says, I want you to steal documents, I want you to arrange protests at political rallies, and I want you to kill somebody. Can you guys do that? I say, yeah, sure, of course, we're happy to. Merchant stated, no problem. Merchant stated that the person he wanted them to murder, okay, but this is a little different. It's not just anybody, it's a political person. He stated that he was willing to pay for these services and he wants long-term relationships in case he wants to, kill someone else. So during the meeting, Merchant presented himself as the representative in the US of some foreign entity, now indicating that there were other people he worked for outside the US. The Iranians. Merchant told the undercovers that he wanted to pay them in cash through hawalas, which are informal, unregulated methods of transferring money between 2 countries without any physical money moving. Typically, the system requires 2 hawaladars, one in each country, to handle the transaction without money being wired overseas. So interesting. Yeah. So it's like, you just, hey, we have this in our account over here, give them your money from over here, and then they probably settle up some other way. So interesting. Okay. So in Istanbul and Dubai, so Merchant reiterated that the undercover's work would be long-term work, and that most likely he would travel back to Pakistan before giving them further instructions. Now, using the plural tense to indicate that he was working with people overseas, Merchant stated that, quote, we would give the instructions, including the target name, who could it be, to the hitman, the last week of August 2024 or the first week of September 24, when Merchant was out of the US. Undercovers told Merchant that they would provide him with a secure cell phone to communicate with him. Merchant had requested of the CS. Yeah, we got your cell phone right here, totally untraceable. He's like, great, thanks. And would be in touch about how much their services would cost. He said, I assure you, Merchant told the UCs, I will assure you, will not regret me. I will assure you will not regret me. Now, on or about June 12th, Merchant then met with one of the undercovers and again got a cell phone to use in furtherance of the plot. Feds come, use this one. During the meeting, Merchant agreed to pay the undercovers a $5,000 advance payment for the plot. He stated that it would take him 1 week to maintain the money, but then he would pay the UCs in New York or Vegas. Then there's coded language for the plot. So following the meeting, Merchant again met with the confidential source. On June 13th, Merchant met with the source. They wrote out coded language on a piece of paper. Wow, another one. That he instructed the CS to copy down and use when communicating with him in the future. The word t-shirt means a protest, which he described as the lightest work. The phrase flannel shirt would mean stealing, which was heavier work. The phrase fleece jacket, which is the heaviest work, would mean the third task, to commit the act of the game. Indicating murder. And the phrase denim jacket referred to sending money. Merchant told the confidential source to use the code words only orally on the phone, don't text those. He then said, run your legitimate clothing business that we previously discussed, and that clothing business will be up front for the plot so we can maintain communication. So this dude is just crazy. Merchant also indicated an affinity for Iran and told the source that the money they were using for the plot was halal, meaning it was permitted. Okay, and the source is like, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll just use my business. Sure, no problem. So Merchant arranges money then. After meeting with the purported hitman, Merchant traveled to Boston, Massachusetts, and began arranging means to get $5,000 cash. On or about June 18th, in a telephone call with an associate in the US, Merchant also asked for help getting the money, $5,000. He told the associate, he says, man, I can't get the money from Pakistan. He says everything was closed due to the EID holiday. I can't get my assassin money, man. Merchant then instructed the associate to transfer $5,000 through hawala, which Merchant would pay back in either Pakistan or via a hawala. Now, on or about June 20th, then, Merchant contacted that associate again. He says, where's my money, man? I can't even get my $5,000. The associate asked if he could transfer the money to a bank account. Merchant responded that it had to be cash. I need it by Friday, like now. Later that day, Merchant called the source, told the source, I've got someone giving me the $5,000. He instructed the source to take a photograph of a serial number on a $1 bill and text the image to Merchant. What? Merchant says to the source, take a picture of a serial number on a $1 bill and text that to me. Then I'm going to send the image of the serial number to the person with the $5,000. Then, when the source went to pick up the money, he would show the person the serial number as verification. Okay, so it's like a secret word or something? It's a weird way to do it. Merchant stated that the CS should expect a call from an individual when the money was ready, and that the money would probably come from Pakistan. So Merchant explained that after the source received the money, Merchant would travel back to New York, collect the money from the source, and then deliver it to the hitman. So it's changing hands multiple times. It's like, what are you guys doing? Just like give a secret code word or something, a secret, handshake. Now, on or about June 21st at approximately 5 a.m., the CS got a series of missed WhatsApp calls from an overseas telephone number that had a display name of someone that the source knew to be Merchant's cousin who's living overseas. The source called the number back and the person said, hey, source, did you get the $5,000? The source said, no, I had not received the money yet, no. So the person then gave the source a telephone number. They said, okay, here, go get the money from this dude. Later that day, the source texted the number and they got the money. So there was money that changed hands. As instructed by Merchant, the CS showed the serial number of the dollar bill to the individual, and the individual handed over the $5,000. And it's probably just some cousin who's like, our crazy son is just off on the rockers again. He's like, he needs bail money or something. Just give him $5,000, send it over. Little do they know they're funding a plot. So Merchant then makes an advance payment, $5,000 for the assassination plot. So then on June 21st, Merchant traveled from Boston to New York to make the payment for the hitman. The CS picked Merchant up at a bus station. Merchant took the $5,000 in cash that he had for Merchant, and he met the undercovers in Manhattan. After the undercovers arrived, Merchant handed over the $5,000 cash to them. Photograph is the cash below. So he had it rolled up. Here you go, guys. Good luck shooting him. After Merchant paid $5,000, one of the undercover cops said to him, now we're bonded. Oh, now we're bonded. He was like, oh, crap, right? Like, we got you, bro. To which Merchant responded, yes, money has changed hands. Now, the undercover said, now we know we're going forward, right? We're doing this. Merchant responded, yes, absolutely. Merchant reiterated that the plan was for the undercovers to go forward with his three plots: the assassination, the protest, and the stealing of documents. That's a lot of work, man, for $5,000. Merchant added, that's it, a down payment? Merchant added, you can't get a fireplace, built for that. Merchant added that he wanted undercovers to launder money for him as well. While you're doing it, yeah, do this too. Merchant explained that he would return to Pakistan before giving the undercovers additional details about the murder plot. Merchant suggested meeting the undercovers in Dubai or Istanbul to convey instructions because it'd be easier for him to do that. Merchant reiterated the plot would occur in the US. He ended the meeting by telling the undercovers, I'll be in touch. Guy thinks he's like a mob boss. Then he subsequently made flight arrangements, planned to travel out of the US on Friday, July 12th. Now, on or about July 12th, a law enforcement agent observed Merchant, so now they're tailing this guy, place his luggage in the trunk of a vehicle outside of his place in his residence. Law enforcement said, this guy's fleeing. They arrest him, search his place of residence and his person. They get a search warrant. During the search, law enforcement again searched his wallet, and they found a handwritten note inside with the code words. No, you can see it. T-shirt, flannel, fleece jacket, denim. That's the plot right there. Says the handwritten note was in there and that Merchant invented these things to communicate about the assassination plot. A photograph of the piece of paper is down there below, along with that money. So here's the conclusion. Now, it's respectfully requested the court seal this. Premature disclosure can jeopardize our investigation. He can flee and all that. It's been unsealed. It's respectfully requested that the seal happens, and that's it. Your opponent respectfully requests that he may be dealt with according to law. The judge, of course, issued an arrest warrant. Criminal complaint has been filed, signed by Anthony Cipriano. So All right, that's your mega assassination plot, right? Couple of probably an insane dude and another criminal who are just hanging out, plotting. I don't know if they're drinking alcohol or whatever, but plotting around. What if we did this? And what if we did this? And of course, I don't want anybody to be taken out or any assassination plot to happen at all. But I certainly don't know that this is a master plot by Iran or something like that, that some dude is on a napkin and we need to go to war with Iran or something, or whatever they're trying to do with this. But this was very curious because we're talking about this connection here. And the Manhattan connection is something that the Oversight Project just dropped fresh out of the oven. They say yesterday a complaint was unsealed. We read through it just now. Now, Merchant took the CS's cell phone. Remember, they follow the cell phone data around. They can gobble it up and aggregate it from all the ad companies that are out there. Right? You browse the internet, all the cookies are pinging your stuff. They know who you are, really. And so they can just trace it. Says the Pakistani met with 2 hitmen who are actually undercovers, but says, why was the security posture in Butler so vulnerable if this was all known? Okay, if this guy, right, the DOJ, the FBI are clearly investigating this dude, there's an open, active concern that Iran has a plot. If they think it's a real plot, this is like a joke, obviously. The guy was on a napkin. They're going around to clubs to find people. $5,000. It's like a joke. Still serious, still worth investigating it. He still should be arrested, all this stuff, but I don't think it's a plot by Iran, all the hallmarks of Iranian whatever. It doesn't seem like that. But if it was happening, why did they bring Trump out there when they had a loose suspect who they lost eyes on J13? Strange. So why did that happen? So what they've done at Oversight is they've continued to analyze mobile ad data that was associated with crooks. And we found even yet a new connection. The same device that visited Washington, D.C. and Crooks's home and work also visited Manhattan. So remember, they had one device. They said, okay, it pinged this address. What of all the devices that pinged this address, which of those devices also pinged the work? Okay, it's probably Crooks. Then they took that device and said, where else did that device go? And several devices visited those places, and they also traced it to DC. But see, this one is also going to Manhattan. And so why would that be? Let's see if there's more. I don't know if there is. But that is what they posted. And it turns out that somebody was in Manhattan. So is that a connection? Very, very curious. We'll continue to see what it looks like. But traveling around, he was also in Manhattan where this guy was. So are they connected? It's a good question. Here is how the news was reporting it over on ABC. This was what Kyra Phillips said.
In connection with an alleged plot to assassinate former President Donald Trump. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky joins me now. So what do we know about this man and what he was planning?
Kira, his name is Asif Merchant, and he entered the United States, according to federal prosecutors in Brooklyn, in April. And while he was here in the United States, he made phone calls trying to hire hitmen to carry out his alleged scheme to assassinate government officials on U.S. soil. The criminal complaint does not mention former President Trump by name, but multiple sources familiar with this case say one of the intended targets was former President Trump. The hitmen that Asif Merchant allegedly contacted ended up being confidential sources of the FBI. So there was never any real danger here because it seems the feds were onto this man from the start. They followed him for several months and arrested him July 12th, just before he was about to board a flight and leave the country. Kira, the arrest July 12th, you'll note, is one day before former President Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, when there was an attempt on the former president's life, although these two things are not believed to be connected.
All right, so no evidence in any way, shape, or form that they could have shared information or were connected in any way. Two separate incidents at this point.
So it seems, Kira, that the FBI has said they found no connection between Thomas Crooks, the 20-year-old who took a shot at Trump in Pennsylvania, and any foreign operatives. But we did learn, subsequent to the rally and the assassination attempt, that the Secret Service had made adjustments to the security plan for the rally because of a thinking that Iran did have this desire to go after former President Trump. Perhaps now we know what gave them that indication. Perhaps
they did. They increased security. You believe that for a second? They increased security and he still got shot? No, I don't buy that for a second. So that's just more state government garbage propaganda. But we'll continue to investigate. Strange that the device did appear in Manhattan, where this guy was based. Who knows if that means anything or not, but we'll continue to follow. Certainly, there are actual assassins out there. There are people who actually do want Trump dead, and they'd be thrilled if that was accomplished. We'll cover this. We'll cover J13, and we appreciate you joining us as we do. Wherever it is you're watching this, thank you so much for subscribing and really for sharing this channel with a friend or family member so that they can come join us when we go live as we cover this and more. Now, we're not done yet here. We're going to carry on. We've got, this is a wild one. Tim Walz's stolen valor problem continues to get worse and worse by the day. We have this new clip that is out where he actually is saying that he handled weapons of war in war. I carried them in war is the specific language that he uses, and it turns out he never did that. So we'll play this video clip, and it comes from Kamala HQ herself. She's sharing this all over the place, and it's just not good for him. Bunch of clips here. JD Vance also comes out at the end of this and obliterates him, saying that he's mocking his credentials at Yale and these other things, but he actually went to Iraq, and it's a beautiful thing. But they're also trying to clean this up, and it's pretty disgusting. So we have this from Bloomberg, which you'll see is changing an old fake story where Walz says he served in Iraq. They're just changing it, and they're switching it over to Italy. Going back in time and changing it and not updating the editor's note to confirm that, right? And for this entire time, he says he returned from serving in Iraq. He didn't. He served in Italy. And so they're changing the whole thing. It's rewriting history because they're little communists. But here is the clip. This is what he said. It's getting worse and worse. Just every single clip is like, oh my gosh, are you serious? How did they not vet this dude? But here it is. Tim Walz saying, I carried weapons in war. No, you didn't. You were in Italy.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Oh, those weapons of war that I carried in war. No, you didn't, dude. That's a big problem. You don't have to go that far. You just say, you know, I served and I wasn't in combat, but I did serve, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you start to embellish and say that you did a bunch of stuff that you didn't do, people start to notice. And in fact, it goes way beyond that. So here is what Jordan Schachtel has discovered, a great report on stolen valor over from his Substack, reposted at the top of our timeline if you're following along at home. Tim Walz launched his political career. Okay, the whole thing was birthed out of this disgusting lie, a scam, claiming that he was a combat veteran in the war on terror. Says in his first major interview while running for Congress, the now VP candidate said he ran for office after fighting in Iraq. Wrong. Nuh-uh. Didn't happen. Here's the article over from the Substack, which I'll encourage you to follow here. Jordan Schachtel's dossier.today. He says, all right, the story goes back way to the beginning of his political career. From the onset of his foray into politics, Walz sold himself as a combat veteran. And he went and dug up the articles that show us this. He says, thanks to some quality reporting, we know that the Minnesota governor, who officially joined the ticket, quit the military in 2005 after learning that his battalion was about to be sent to Iraq, spent his entire career there, and then bailed at the last minute. He did 6 months overseas to Italy on the taxpayer dime. Italy's beautiful. I don't know where he went. Maybe he went to Rome, to Venice, a lot of places to eat there. Pasta's great, pizza's great. I mean, it's Italy. It's outstanding. Now he learned he was going to lead people into battle, and then he bailed. But that's not what Tim Walz told the public when he decided to run for office. Just months after leaving his battalion to go to Iraq, he announced, I'm going to run for Congress. And the disassembling about his service record began immediately. Now, they could have just been honest about it. That's not true at all. Here is a screen clipping from another article from Bloomberg. Joshua Green wrote this article. He was then employed at The Atlantic, was the first major reporter to write a profile on this dude. And here's what it looked like. Company left. There's something different about the latest crop of military veterans running for Congress. Command Sergeant Major Tim Walz, which is not his rank, is a 24-year veteran of the Army National Guard, now retired, still on active duty. High school teacher, he had left to serve overseas in Operation Enduring Freedom. Says southern Minnesota is home to a large Guard contingent that includes Walz's unit, which he didn't go. And so the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are naturally a pressing local concern, particularly to high school students. He said that he also is now retired, but he's a high school teacher and he had left to serve in overseas Operation Enduring Freedom. Now, we don't know if Green, actually what the deal was, but he's a veteran reporter. We don't know if he's omitting major facts or if he's being sold on a narrative. But this assertion is misleading. It leaves the reader thinking that he was boots on the ground. It makes you think that he was there in Operation Enduring Freedom in Iraq. He was not. So that was like a little bit of a fake, right? Wait a minute. Had left to serve overseas in Operation Enduring Freedom. But he wasn't in Iraq or Afghanistan. He was in Italy. It gets much worse. Green discusses a 2004 visit from Bush. He writes, his challenge prompted a KGB-style interrogation that was characteristic of Bush. Do you support the president? Walz refused to answer. Do you oppose the president? Walz replied that it's no one's business but his own. Walz thought for a moment and asked the Bush staffers if they really wanted to arrest a command sergeant major. You really going to arrest a command sergeant major, not your rank, who just returned from fighting the war on terror. Fighting the war on terror in Italy. Now, while the first instance can be written off as an issue of unclear reporting, the second is not, all right? Walz was not just serving in a support role from Italy. He had been fighting the war on terrorism. Now, according to the article, Walz was picked out of relative obscurity by Democrat operatives due to his military service. These operatives went out and recruited veterans. To this day, Green remains under the false impression, the author of that piece, that Walz served and fought in the war. In the piece for Bloomberg on Tuesday, he wrote that Walz served in Iraq as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. But it's a false construct. As soon as shots were fired, he turned and ran the other way. And he continues to lie about it, as we just saw in that clip. And Bloomberg is stealth editing this. It's insane to watch him do this. Bonchi Red State, over a great follow on X, says, Bloomberg has now stealth edited the claim that Walz served in Iraq. The claim was originally made by the same reporter, Joshua Green, back in 2004. Alan Levy clipped this one. Lawyer from New York and New Jersey. They literally changed it, right? From recently returned from serving in Iraq, recently returned from serving in Italy. And this whole thing has been allowed to be faked for a long time. Now, the National Guard is now confirming that he was in fact demoted. We'll see if he answers any questions about this, but so far nothing. The Minnesota National Guard, according to our friends at Just the News, say that they confirmed on Wednesday that Walz was demoted and did not retire as a command sergeant major like he says all the time. While Walz temporarily held the title, it was temporary and he made a bunch of commitments in order to make it not temporary anymore. Retired as master sergeant is what they said. That's according to Army Lieutenant Colonel Kristen Augie, who is the public affairs officer, said no. He retired as a master sergeant in 2005 for benefit purposes because he did not complete additional coursework at the Sergeant's Major Academy. He made a commitment to do it and then failed. and then claims that he completed this and that he maintains the title. Now, a lot of what they'll say is that, well, he was acting for a little bit, like he got like a temporary positional elevation, and so he can claim it forever. No. Everybody else completed their coursework. They did the job. They sat for the exams, and they did it. It'd be like if somebody just graduated law school or didn't, or like quit it like halfway through law school, didn't even take the bar exam, and they're like, yeah, but I'm a lawyer though. And they walked into court like, I'm a lawyer. You get the hell out of here. No, you are not. The judge would not even entertain it because you actually have to do the thing. The statement reignited controversy because the governor's biography says that Command Sergeant Major Walz retired from the National Guard. No, you didn't. The National Guard disputed his description. They said, okay, officially, Governor Walz served from April 8th to 2005. Walz served in the military while serving in Minnesota, blah, 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 and culminated in a career serving as a command sergeant. He had multiple positions within the field artillery, firing battery, all these things, serving as a command sergeant major for the battalion, right? So he did serve temporarily, and then he fled, basically. Like he was on the track to actually earn the title and then fled. He retired not as a command sergeant major, but as a master sergeant, even though he was on the path to do that. Now, according to Army Regulation 600.8.19, a soldier who does not complete the requisite coursework is automatically demoted. It's automatic. So his military career is now under scrutiny. We saw 2 retired actual command sergeants major wrote an open letter. We covered that yesterday, and they just obliterated him. He said, when your country called, you're supposed to run into battle, not the other way. But he left. Scrutiny is now coming up. A lot of people calling it stolen valor. It's not just us. Other people, John Kerry and others, were caught in this bigly. CNN is even confirming this. They did a little bit of a fact check on this one. And they say, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference here. You can't say that you did all those things if you didn't actually do those things, because the people who did do those things made tremendous sacrifices. Many of them, the ultimate sacrifices, and they're not here. So you don't get to dress up like the Democrats love to do and pretend that you're somebody that you're not.
Waltz did make a comment speaking to a group. He's done it a couple of times where he has used language that has suggested that he carried weapons in a fighting situation. As you know, with your contact with the military, I know from coming from a military family, there is a difference between being in a combat area, being involved at a time of war, and actually being in a position where people are shooting at you.
Yeah.
There is no evidence that at any time Governor Waltz was in a position of being shot at, and some of his language could easily be seen to suggest that he was. It's
not conveniently or haphazardly suggesting it. Oops, I gave you the wrong impression. My mistake. No, it's intentional. It's a fake narrative. It's why they picked this guy to run in the first place. His entire existence is based on a lie.
Is absolutely false when he said that about gun rights out there.
Yep, so he's a liar, and people are seeing that. Now, you'll hear also from Representative Mike Waltz, who is someone concerned about this, says, I've seen the reports on his record, and he has some explaining to do. Here's another congressman.
Hey, a lot of discussion out there in the veterans community about Governor Tim Walz's military record, and I think it boils down to 2 issues. One is the fact that he's described himself over his political career as a sergeant major, as the highest enlisted rank in the Army. He was promoted to sergeant major, but then in order to stay in that rank, you have to complete certain training. You have to complete the Sergeant Major's Academy, which he never did. So he was subsequently demoted to Master Sergeant before he retired. A lot of questions there on how he should be describing himself. And I think those are fair to ask, and he should answer them. And then the bigger issue is walking away from his soldiers after they had been called to go to Iraq. I commanded Green Berets. Everything that you do prepares you for that moment when you have to lead your men and women into harm's way. It's kind of like the quarterback of a big team walking away from their team right before they go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything like it, especially the fact that he was a command sergeant major. I've never heard of a commander or sergeant major stepping away from their unit before they go down range. The media needs to do their job and ask these tough questions, and Walz needs to answer them. The veterans community, for one, is demanding an explanation of why he didn't fulfill his duty as a command sergeant major and go into harm's way with the men and women he was leading.
We think we know why, because he's a coward, didn't want to go over there and actually do what he signed up to do. Now, this is someone else who is on this train, says from Hung Kao. This is a gentleman who is a husband, father, retired Navy captain, running for the U.S. Senate, endorsed by President Trump. We're going to repost this on our timeline. He writes, look, I have tried to take my time in responding to stories about Tim Walz's service record. The hypocrisy astounds me. Because I am a Trump supporter and running against a liberal career politician, a so-called Pentagon correspondent, okay, some media troll hack, asked me to provide documented evidence of every time I had been outside the wire on a deployment. And every time I received incoming enemy fire, okay? So some journo hack is like, well, you have documents to support that? Can you email me something about that? Where's your documents? Where's your forms? Meanwhile, Walz can make up whatever the hell he wants. Nobody asks him for any backup. I was asked, he says, to provide my medical records, and I was grilled about why my brain injury didn't earn me a Purple Heart. Now you contrast that with Tim Walz, whose entire political career appears to be based on a lie. That he served in Iraq when he did not. He exaggerated his rank in an effort to disarm law-abiding Americans. He implied he had seen combat when he never did. All I know for sure is when I was deployed to Iraq, I never saw Tim Walz there. In the Navy, we used to talk about something called pulling a deployment muscle. Oh no, my back hurts. I can't go to Afghanistan. Oh no. It seems to me that Tim Walz might have just suffered that. Now, while it upsets me to read how Walz abandoned his unit before the deployment, it frankly upsets me more that this man spent 20 years as a candidate and in elected office, now seeking the vice presidency of the United States, and no one in the media asked him before or since any simple questions like, you were deployed to Iraq, weren't you, Tim? Why did you quit so you didn't have to go and then imply that you did? Why? Now, the truth is, we all know the answer. And it's disqualifying for future service as our president. Boom. And that's really good, right? When duty calls, he bails out. And that's from another veteran, retired Navy captain, talking about what this means. Now, here is another gentleman, J.R. Salzman and Kurt Schlichter, other veterans who are showing images of them there. And you know who's missing in this photo right here, right next to him? Tim Walz. Anybody? It's like the Where's Waldo game. Anybody here can identify Tim Walz in this photo? No, Tim Walz is not there. This other guy's there. Here's another guy. Tim Walz, not in this photograph. So shout out to Kurt Schlichter. Shout out to J.R. Salzman. They're all there. There's no Tim Walz around. Not anywhere to be found. But you know who did go serve? We have J.D. Vance, who was there. We're going to listen to him, but Tim Walz got asked about this, and he didn't want to answer any questions. So they brought out some kids to provide cover. You're like, all right, just put the kids in front of us, okay, so we don't have to answer any questions here. No one's going to answer questions. There's kids here. So here is what it looked like when they were trying not to answer questions today.
Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response? Governor!
Try again.
Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response?
No response. All right, so was that Buttigieg? No, that's not Buttigieg, is it? No, I don't think so. Okay, so anyways, yeah, I don't want to answer any questions. One person who is answering a lot of questions lately is J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance crushes this. Someone who actually went over and did serve in Iraq and doesn't lie about it is J.D. Vance. And here is how he is settling this issue with the media.
Sir.
Last night, Governor Waltz suggested that because of your Ivy League education and your Silicon backing your political career, that you yourself are part of the elite. What are your first impressions of them trying to frame you this way to the American public?
Well, look, I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Waltz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Waltz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre. Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Waltz, it's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Waltz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. Yeah. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Waltz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Waltz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Waltz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Waltz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
Shout out to Meemaw and shout out to J.D. Vance just crushing that question. And, you know, he's right. He was not in a combat zone. And Minneapolis and the 3rd precinct there that was burnt to the ground, that doesn't count, right? That's civilian riots courtesy of BLM that you allowed there, Tim. That's not Iraq as much as you want it to be. So we'll see how that works out for him. I don't think it's going to work out that well. But speaking of J.D. Vance trolls Kamala Harris, and it's a lot of fun. She landed on the tarmac at an airport, and he just walked his entire entourage over there, Secret Service and everybody, and he tries to tell the media, hey, is she answering questions? Because if she's not, I'm happy to talk to you. If she doesn't want to answer anything from you. And this was a wild exchange. So he gets off his plane. JD walks right over here. You see Kamala, that's her plane, not JD's plane. And he's just waiting for her so we can have a conversation. Here's what it sounds like. Now, keep eyes on this Secret Service agent. Does she look familiar to you? Does she have a little Butler recollection to you? Here's JD.
I know you're covering the Vice President here. I figured I'd come by and wanted to give a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. But I also thought you guys might get lonely because the Vice President doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind, because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
See ya, JD.
What would you like to hear from her? I'd love her to answer some questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is money to fund the police. She's the borders yard, yet she's opened up the American southern border.
Hi,
This is a
Kamala.
person who has to answer questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she runs for you guys. It's also insulting.
Running away.
But anyway, we're gonna go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention. See ya.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to be a lot of fun. He should do that basically every day now until the election and just keep counting the days of questions that she refuses to answer. And so this, I think, may have been the other side of one of the trips. And I don't think we can see JD back there. So she may have left or landed or something. But this is the other angle, right? She doesn't want to answer any questions. So they have these like little kids. All right, let's see. Is he going to lean in for a sniff? All right, is he like Joe Biden? This is a big test, my friends. All right, no lean in. Good, that's good at least. All right, that's good. All right, no sniffs from him. That's good. But they bring out these little girls to distract from the media so that they don't have to answer any questions. JD just walks right over and answers everything. All right, Kamala, can you please take one question for us? Just one question, please. No. Is the media going to ask any? No, they're pathetic. Start lobbing some questions, Kamala, or media. All right, so nothing out of them. Now, we got more coming up. This is from RNC. Instead of actually addressing the media, she just goes and reads the same speech over and over and over. And I don't listen to her speeches because I'm trying my best to maintain as many IQ points as possible. Every time we listen to her, it's at least a -1, at least -1 on a good day. So we try to avoid them, but apparently she's reading the same thing over and over again. So if you are also missing them, you're not missing anything because she just keeps saying the same thing over and over again. RNC said yesterday that she's reading the exact same speech that she's already given. And then today, she's reading the same speech that she read yesterday. It's the same damn thing. So it's just really repetitive and there's nothing even new. Okay, Trump at least ad-libs. It's a lot of the same talking points. It's a campaign. It's not going to be a new speech every time, but you're going to have a little bit of, interviews with actual questions. Trump will riff off on different topics as he's going through. Kamala doesn't have the capability to do that. In fact, here is a little bit of a clip of her. This is from our friend Carly Bonney on X, does great work over there. She says, oh gosh, Kamala's creepy as hell. And let's listen to this.
And I'll tell you, about an hour ago after I landed on Air Force Two, I met a collection of young leaders from Girl Scout Troop 3307.
Yeah.
Oh, they were spectacular. None of them taller than 3 feet. They were spectacular. And one of those young leaders had a shirt on that said, "You are powerful and your voice matters." Right? From the mouths of babes, they're telling us. And so let's remember that. Let's remember our power. Let's remember our voice matters. And with that, then I ask, are you ready to make your voices heard?
Oh, no! She's whispering!
Do we believe in freedom?
Man, that's the Biden whisper. Is she doing the Biden whisper? Oh, gosh. It must have rubbed off on her, along with the cocaine over there. All right, Tim Walz is out there, and he's saying your free speech doesn't mean crap, so just get used to it.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Yeah, there is actually, okay? There actually is. That's actually legally wrong, all right? You can say certain things. The First Amendment doesn't have a carve-out for hate speech, you weird freak show. All right, so that's him. We also have Ron DeSantis dunking on him a bit. Let's listen to some of Ron, and then JD Vance is going to come back out. He again took questions today for 20 minutes again, just fielding questions from the media. They're going to get really sick and tired of not having access to their candidates. We'll see if they do anything about it, but here's Ron explaining why Tim Walz is a leftist freak.
We're doing well, Sean. I was a Category 1. As Florida standards go, that's about as minimal as we get. It did leave a lot of water. situation. We're going to continue to provide relief. That's just what we do. We're wired for this, and everyone's doing a really good job. But I'll tell you, seeing that news this morning, I was leaving the Emergency Operations Center in Tallahassee, and you have a vapid San Francisco Democrat leading the ticket, and now they put in this guy, Waltz, who's basically an Ilhan Omar-style very leftist Democrat from Minnesota, has the most liberal record of any governor in the country. Is that what the American people want? The San Francisco are defecating in public on the sidewalks, the Minnesota experience where cities are burning down, and Governor Waltz was derelict in his duties to sit back and allow those cities to burn. Kamala Harris was egging it on, and she even raised money to bail people out. So, yes, a Harris-Waltz ticket is Make America Burn Again. But I watched his speech, Sean, and this guy's a shyster. I mean, he's saying these things. He claims, oh, you know, leave your neighbors alone. It's none of your business. This is the guy that set up a snitch line during COVID for neighbors to inform if somebody was violating his draconian COVID restrictions. He claims people should be able to make whatever healthcare decision they want, yet he, as governor, mandated the experimental COVID-19 jab. And then he says Republicans are weird, yet this is the governor who put tampons in the boys' bathroom throughout Minnesota schools. Give me a break.
Leftist freak show, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. So JD Vance was again out taking questions. We'll wrap it up with him. Then we'll see what you guys say about it. Here's JD.
We're listening to these remarks, or we'll hear them on TV just a little bit later. My very simple request is to think about people who are suffering in this country. Think about kids who lost a parent to an opioid overdose. Think about families like mine who can't afford groceries when they go up by 30%. Think about families that are struggling because the mom and the dad can't get a good job because Kamala Harris would rather build the Chinese middle class than the American middle class. Those people could be doing so much better, and they will, so long as Donald Trump becomes president. My final comment I'll say is, it says on our national currency, "In God we trust." That is the motto of the United States of America. I believe that God calls us to hope and not to despair. And I really do hope for this country and believe that this country's best days are ahead of it. But the most important thing that we can do to give people all across this country hope is to get them a government that actually works for American citizens, and that's by electing Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Yeah, JD Vance. So good stuff from him. I'm liking that we're seeing him out there on the campaign trail a lot more. Feels like he's got his feet under him. He's just firing off versus the media. And we're looking forward to seeing a lot more of it. Hopefully he just follows Kamala around and just goes up to her while she's on the tarmac and says, would you like to talk now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? We'll be here continuing to cover it, my friends. Thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, I'd love it if you did, wherever you're watching this, on the tubes, on X, on Rumble, anywhere else. We'd love to have you join us. Coming back here on the next one. We live stream 5 days a week here, and we'd love to have you back here on the next one. We'll see you back here then. All right, now it is time to hear from you, my friends. We had a great couple of segments there. I thought that first segment where we talked about the Pakistani national was kind of a wild ride. Read like a, I don't know, like a 65 Rotten Tomatoes score, maybe, movie. 65 on a Rotten Tomatoes score, maybe. Like, I'd watch that movie for sure. I don't know if it'd be a comedy or a drama, but it was, it was interesting. So we watched that one. And then we talked about Tim Walz and his stolen valor and how that is going to be a real big problem for them moving forward. And we're glad that they picked him. And then lastly, JD Vance trolling Kamala Harris. And so it's been a hell of a stream, my friends. Thank you for joining us. It's so fun going through this stuff together with you. And let's see what you say about it all. We got some great support coming in. And we have John McGarvey and Donut Mind Me clipping away for us today. ICK Beans in the house. John McGarvey sharing this one. It's the Wednesday dance, baby, with Snoopy. Man, we love Snoopy. He's, an American icon. Hey, what's up? Rub some dirt on it. Over on Locals, 9 months as a membo. Woo! Looking forward to a large family. We got 9. That's a full baby. Rub some dirt on it. Thanks for the nice dono. Thanks for being a membo over on Locals. And hey, if you're a new member, we have great We have great members-only morning streams in the mornings on YouTube and on Locals. We'd love to have you come join us for those. Ike's Girl. What's up, Ike's Girl? Says, my granddaughter is 18, going to Grand Canyon University in Arizona in the fall, graduated from high school, and got her AA at the same time. Watch out, she's a whiz in online advertising. Good luck. Woo! Shout out to Ike's Girl's granddaughter. And I hopefully she sees this message that you gave her a very nice shout out. So shout out to young granddaughter Ike's Girl. Sounds like you got a rockin' career ahead of you. Online advertising, it's a lucrative industry, so it's going to be a lot of fun. You can do a lot of good there. Hey, Zobi Richard. What's up, Zobi? Thanks for becoming a supporter. We'll see you on the members-only streams. And this one from Corrections 101 says, love you, Rob. Membo for 2 months. That's great. First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. Love you, Rob. Keep up the cheeky content. Thank you for that. Is it cheeky? That's one of those ones from the UK that's interesting. Because fanny in the United States means butt. But fanny in the UK means something different. Now, cheeky in the UK, I think, means jokey and jovial. But in the United States, it means butt. It's, cheeky, like your butt cheeks, That's what it means to me. So what's up? Object Class Keeter says, I think they have the wrong playbook or use theirs. Membo for 11 months, almost a full year, Object Class. Amazing. Can't wait for that one. Goose Toots. What's up, Goose? Thanks for this nice dono. Says, Rob, thank you for being my main source of true and factual news. I very much appreciate you and the humor you bring delivering it. Thanks for that, Goose Toots. I appreciate that. We have a lot of fun together. And it is fun. It is fun. It's maddening. It's insane, but it is also a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us, Goose Toots. And I'm really grateful we get to go through this together. Glocky's here. Yeah, the Stolen Valor Act. There's a little excerpt from that. Specifically amends the federal code. If you get a tangible benefit from claiming or fraudulently claiming to have a rank, maybe they should charge him. He's already a convicted criminal, so why not? Glocky's here. Says he literally benefited from embellishing his rank through his campaign. He broke federal law. Yeah, totally. They wrote fake articles about him serving in Iraq. I mean, he may not be a congressman if they didn't have that lie. Eddie Block. What's up, Eddie Block? Says, Rob, you are awesome. Thank you for subbing to my locals. Happy to, Eddie. Only a few away from getting to stream for 2 hours. You are the best. Next time Donnie and I am in Arizona, I'll take you to Ruth's Chris. Donnie's treat, LOL. Wow, man, Donnie's fancy. Ruth's Chris, I'll take it. Is Donnie going to have a steak with us too? Only if Donnie has a steak with us too. At the table. All right. Good to see you, Eddie. Happy to subscribe to you, man. And my friends, Eddie Block, if you're not familiar with Eddie Block, we've talked a lot about him here on this channel. He testified in the Proud Boys trial. He's got a real good boy called Donnie, short for Donald. He's a lot of fun. And he's got a great locals community that he's just launching. And so we're excited to support him. So check him out. I just subbed yesterday. Alan Harkin on Rumble. Good to see you, Alan. Says, great show as usual. You bring the truth, the fairness, and common sense to the forefront of all you present. Appreciate you quite a lot. Keep up the good work. Alan, thanks for that, man. I appreciate you back. Thanks for watching over on Rumble. Thanks for being a membo on Rumble. Thanks for sending that in. We try. I mean, we try our best. We try to be truthful here. We try to be fair. We try to use some common sense here. Sometimes maybe it's, sometimes we might be off the mark a little bit, but we try. We try to have fun doing it, Alan, and couldn't do it without your support. So really, thank you so much for doing it. Always very generous. Grateful to have you here with us. We've got this one from Glocky. Says, here's Walz getting demoted. Yeah, we saw that. I think I didn't see this actual document, but I think we watched this in a news clip, right? They showed this to us. So they just changed it. It's official. But he's saying, because I pretended to be a guy, or because I was acting as one for a short period of time, I can say that indefinitely, which I don't think you can. Yeah, here's another one where he's wearing this hat. He's wearing a hat with the Special Forces crest in multiple pics. If he campaigned or told donors fake war stories to raise money, he broke federal law. Oh, and he's royally angered the Special Forces community. Yeah, this came over from Green Beret, right? They're not happy about this. Green Beret nap time. And, to be ultra clear about this, like, I never served. And so, it's maybe, I don't know how appropriate it is for me to criticize him, right, for this or whatever. I don't think I'm, like at least he served, of course, right? But he did make an agreement, right? I think that's where the problem is. It's like you made an agreement. Other people made the agreement and you broke that agreement. So I think, it's offensive to me, I would say, in any domain. It's not just the military. If somebody did this to a CEO, if somebody did this, like if I did this to my law firm, it's like, hey guys, like things are about to get rough, but I'm out of here, right? That would be not good. That would be something that would be, I would feel like I lacked integrity in doing that. You want to leave people better than you found them. You don't want to leave them hanging out to dry. It doesn't matter what the domain is. So that happened. Anyways, Green Beret Nap Time says, hey, Tim Walz, this you? Do you often wear our crest even though you were only National Guard with 0 deployments, never went through Special Forces or the Q course, and by all accounts, never even worked with Special Forces? Stolen Valor much, right? They got his hats on all over the place. Like he's a Special Forces bro. Voice of the People says, why does this doc about Trump sound like AI wrote this? You mean the little fantasy novel of the napkin assassins? Yeah, good question. What's up, Voice? Good to see you. Glocky says, telling crazy stories amongst battle buddies and to your girl is one thing, and the guys will even give you a hard time about your BS. It's known and given. You never embellish combat stories, especially when it involves losing people or to make money that will get you turned into an outcast. Yeah, and there's great honor and benefit, right? Or I would say reverence is probably the better word, right? For people who actually did do that stuff. And so you're grifting off of that. It's really, really gross. Jack Pasobic, what's up? Says, this is Sergeant Kyle Miller of Minnesota National Guard. He was 19 in Tim Walz's unit. He was killed. See, that's like just rest in peace, Kyle R. Miller. Prayers to his family. This young man will live on in our memories. Kyle R. Miller, Sergeant, did not bail out like Tim Walz did. Died June 29, 2006 in Iraq. Born in Wilmar, Minnesota on the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery. Rest in peace, Kyle R. Miller. Yeah, it's really wild. Hey, this one from Sandra MacArthur says, telling a yarn is telling a lie. Yeah, I understand that one. Yeah, that's a wild yarn. But I think even the confidential source thought that they were talking about yarn. This one from Goose Toots says, sounds like a Tom Clancy novel. I know. It's like Jason Bourne just drafted it up. I think there's actually a Mission Impossible about that. Remember where Ethan Hunt is like drawing on the window? He's like, I know what we're going to do. Here, zip line over here. And they go, you're crazy, Ethan. It's not that crazy. Give me it. And he jumps out the window. Whatever. Yeah, it's just like that. Maybe that's what was happening. Maybe I read the whole thing wrong. This guy was Ethan Hunt. I don't know. MAGA Hat Stace, what's up? Sheila Jackson Lee, who was on the Secret Service Oversight Committee overseeing resources for the Trump detail, was also in Houston where Anit was arrested. She died 6 days after the assassination attempt. Whoa. All right, now it's starting to sound like a Tom Clancy novel. Steph D, what's up, Steph D? One membo coming in. Hey, we love new membos. What's up, Spiral Games? Welcome aboard. Great to have you as the newest of membos. Golden Gaming has been a member for 16 months. It's almost 2 full babies. Says all of this is more telling that the feds allowed it. Yeah, I don't know what they were doing with that guy. I feel like they probably have a bunch of those little crazy people that they just have kind of on a loose end and they just pull them out. Oh, we need somebody to go attack Iran. Okay, pull that guy out. Sheila Poo. What's up, Sheila Poo? 5 members coming in. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing them in. Mr. Null is coming in. First Shot is here. Father Marin. Goose Toots got gifted a membo. And RTW Rec Status gifted membos courtesy of Sheila Poo in the house. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 5 new membos. Voice of the People says, it's like the government tried to use ChatGPT to make a story about a U.S. president attacked by a terrorist. That's pretty funny. Yeah, Tweak made that point too. It's hilarious. ChatGPT. Write a novel about a guy in a napkin, Pakistani national, Iran. Wow, it's terrible. Thanks. Thanks, funny voice. Spud says, Walz left the weapon of war, but he took the cannolis. Yeah, he was under attack by pizza. Hey, what's up? Pinochet's helicopter tour says, if Walz is a combat vet, No one fell out of my birds. No one fell out of my birds. Pinochet's helicopter tours. Okay, so that means people fall out of your helicopters? Is that what you're telling us? Okay. Sounds like a fun tour, man. Are they supposed to fall out? Here's one from James. Tim Walz is a food stamp version of Biden. Yeah, I like that phrase of, food stamp, store brand Biden, I think is a good one. And I also like the one, somebody said Temu. I've never used that app, but apparently it's like ultra cheap stuff. Temu app. It's like Temu Biden. Lies about everything. Kamala must love him. Yeah, they probably are getting along. They probably are drunk together too a lot of the time. Hey, Esther Sugart says, how could Waltz not know that every word he said would be scrutinized? Well, yeah, he's a Democrat. That's a great response. But he knows the media is going to cover for him because he's a Democrat, and it's that power, baby. You just want that power. And honestly, they have a short time. It's like 90 days. They just have to cover him up and Kamala up for 90 days. That's it. Can they do it? They're going to try. Pinochet's helicopter tours, drop this one over on Rumble, says, stolen valor annoys me. 2011, the Massachusetts, 181 infantry was deployed to Afghanistan, stationed at Camp Phoenix. Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown, a JAG, deployed for a month to steal a CIB he didn't earn. I remember Scott Brown. Is he still in there? Is he still a senator? I don't think so, right? NY says, Walz made a huge deal about his rank and how his rank was the highest enlisted man ever to be in Congress. It's from his own literature. His Wikipedia page is still incorrect. It's his responsibility to correct the record. Yeah, that's a great point. It's not like people are digging in and dragging this out of nowhere. He made this one of his shining pillars of his success. Talked about it all the time. So you get to comment on that, especially when it's inaccurate. Alpha She-Wolf is here. 5 membos. Alpha She-Wolf, thanks for doing that. Bringing in Ralph L. Raph L. HD is here. Angie Erickson, Golden Gaming, what's up? Janet L. and Jadi. Gifted membos, courtesy of Alpha She-Wolf. Thank you, Alpha She-Wolf, for bringing in 5 new membos. Hey, Ziggy Girl, thank you for this nice one over on Rumble. Says, I think the Harris team is messing with the Trump team, keeping them wondering who they will put in. I think that they will switch out Walz for Shapiro, and Shapiro will replace Kamala. Oh, man. So I can understand that theory. I think it's a wild theory. They would anger so many people if they did that. First of all, the votes, I think, have already been essentially pledged at this point. So she's gotten enough pledged. So that would all have to change. The swap of Walz, might be more likely, but still less likely. They've got 2 weeks. So it's a week from Monday is when the convention starts. So it needs to be settled in there. But they can't replace Kamala with a white dude. And that's not going to go over well. I'd like to see him try it. That'd be fun, actually. Hey, here's one from Eddie Block Film. Says, sorry I had to make this one. From Eddie Block Film. Says, sorry I have to make this one. What is this one? Tampon Tim. Oh, okay, I see what's happening there. Thank you, Eddie, for that one. Check that one out on Locals. Stacy Milliken, what's up? Says, Walz set up a snitch website during the vid to report those not obeying the lockdown. Tell on thy neighbor. Right, and now he comes out and lectures everybody. Mind your own business. Leave us alone. Bro, you had people leaving you voicemails that other people were playing basketball outside in a park. Are you kidding? What's up, Glocky says, I got numerous TBIs, calcium buildup on my brain from all the IEDs we hunted and hit. No Purple Heart because it's not a physical wound, but the government put me on 100% disability and early retirement because of that. And a screwed up back knee, chronic PTSD was the job and ended up luckier than a couple of friends in our recon platoon and their families. So screw the media and screw Walz and this cowardly political socialist fat loser. I feel you on that one, Glocky. I don't understand it, but I can feel your rage. I feel it. Thanks for that. Rebecca says, this is reminiscent of Senator Blumenthal, falsely claiming serving in Vietnam. As a Navy Vietnam ERA vet married to a Marine who fought in Vietnam, I find him deplorable and offensive. It's offensive. It's offensive even for people like me who didn't serve. It's like, hey, man, look, I know what a cherished thing this is. It's like, it's a reverence. There's a respect to it. It's an ultimate sacrifice. It's tremendous. So for people to be a little bit loosey-goosey with the whole thing, it's like, oh gosh, brutal. Glocky says, pick your fighter. Enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps after 9/11, deployed to Iraq, quit when his unit was deployed to Iraq, lied about his rank in the National Guard. This one from Sheila P. Bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Sheila. Linda G's coming in. Ryan Hogan, what's up? Nunya Bitness is here. Vermont Pepper and Da Freak, gifted membos. We got this one. Thank you, Sheila. NY says, can we pass a law on the use of the, quote, inside voice by the politicians? It's time that the madness end. Is that the whisper voice? I don't know what the inside voice is, but Kamala's voice should be banned. Yeah. Alexandra, what's up on local? Says Rob. Hey, Rob. Hey, Alexandra. Have you ever looked at the differences between the Trump rallies and the Kamala's rallies? It just looks like the epitome of I'm just here so I don't get fined at the Kamala rally, whereas it seems like people genuinely want to be there for Trump's rallies. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, it's been interesting to see, and I'm trying to be, realistic with myself, and I don't want to be dismissive of Kamala's enthusiasm if there is actual enthusiasm there. Like, I don't want to write it off as, this is just all a bunch of fake crap if it's real, because that would be a mistake. Don't underestimate your opponent. And it's hard to grasp right now. I think we're still in this weird honeymoon phase where there is a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. And I think it's going to carry on for a little bit. So things are going to get worse before they get better. We have the Democratic convention starting on the 14th, I think. It's going to be 3, 4 days, 5 days of just slobbering, gushing, very thirsty Democrats who've not had any political excitement for a long time, all rubbing themselves all over the place. Kamala, Walz. It's going to be nuts. But is it real? Is it genuine? Is it going to last? I think once people start to understand who Kamala is, once the media starts to actually ask her some questions, she starts to have to respond. I think that a lot of that shine and glisten will start to fade away. I've also seen that it feels like what we're seeing is that they're boosting artificially a lot of these numbers. Like they brought out the twerking girl, whatever her name was, the stallion woman, who's, whatever she does. And they brought out some other dude today, I think, when they were wherever they were, who was a local band, right? They fill it with a bunch of other exciting people, and then Kamala comes and steals the thunder, steals the valor of the actual band people who were there. Perfect for her campaign, right? She steals the valor of the stallion twerking her booty up there, and then Walz steals the valor of actual people who served in Iraq. Nice. So I've seen some of that. I think that there probably is really some genuine people who want to be there for Kamala. A lot of it feels like AstroTurf. The other thing I've seen on this, Alexandra, is, and I kind of want to do a segment on it, but maybe we'll do it tomorrow in the morning or somewhere, but influencers are also being paid, right? I see these letters coming in. One woman was saying that they were offering her like $3,000 or up to 10 grand. So it is a lot of AstroTurf. I can tell you, I've never gotten any solicitation to speak on behalf of anybody, like from Trump or from the Republicans or anything. So I don't think our side's doing that as far as I know, although they wouldn't need to pay me. I just say what I do. I say what I say anyways. But I haven't had anybody come to say, stop talking positively about Trump or anything. It's like their side, right? They're AstroTurfing their people. We don't need to be paid to speak the truth and to speak our mind and to share our opinions and our ideas because we think we're fighting on the right side of history. They have to bribe people to say that they're doing a good job because they're not. We don't have that problem. I mean, it'd be nice if they just paid me to say what I'm saying already. They're like, hey, can you just keep talking about Trump? We'll pay you for it. Like, we love what you're doing. That'd be great, but not a reality. Grant, what's up? And I'm only kidding about that. We've got Grant, what's up? Says, smash that like button. A10EC Gent says, is it just me, or do they stay very zoomed in on Kamala so as not to show the crowd size? Even when announcing Tim Walz, they stayed just on them and maybe 10 rows of people. That's curious. Yeah, I'll have to keep a closer eye on that. We did notice that there's not a lot of, it's not a lot of red, white, and blue there. We were counting the flags there. Like the flags look different, right? Trump's flags all over the place. You look there was like 2-3 flags we counted at one of their last events. Robert the Great, what a great name, says, it sounds like that this guy, Asif Merchant, was a patsy to cover up the truth. Yeah, I don't know. Right? It could have been a distraction. Just find some crazy guy who's doing something crazy. Let's blame it on Iran. It could be to show that the government does something. It's like, oh, we almost got Trump killed on that one. Oops, our bad. But we're doing some good stuff over here. So, like, don't hate us totally. You know, it could be something like that. Or it's totally unrelated, just a coincidence. Or there is a connection. You know, who knows? Thanks, Robert. This old guy says, if the job vetting Walz was done by Kamala's staff is any indication of the quality of her administration, God protect us from these idiots. Yeah, they're both a disaster. Hey, Oil Smoke Jones says, spectacularly disgusting, Tim. Exactly the kind of guy that the left admires. Listen, okay, don't be such a bigot, everybody, okay? He identifies as a command sergeant major, all right? If you can identify as a woman when you're not, clearly, then you can identify as a command sergeant major, right? Kamala identifies as multiple races too, so just deal with it. Okay, Ray K, what's up? Membo for 30 months says trying to get in the 8 a.m. stream since moving to England. 30 months as a Membo, Ray K. Whew, man, we've seen some serious business. My gosh, it's a lot. It's a long time. Thank you really for being here for so long. Like, we're like different people now. Trying to get in the 8 a.m. stream. Well, I hope you are able to join us, Ray K. We miss you when you can't make it. And it's 9 a.m. our time. So just to be sure about that. Hopefully you're not sitting there at 8 a.m. waiting for us. We got this one. Will Crump says, what do you think about Schumer's No King Act? Well, like most things that come from Schumer, it's garbage. Thank you for that, Will. We got this one from Pinochet says, as a plumber in Maine, Massachusetts, I have no problem with tampon in men's rooms. They should be stuffed in the urinals often. I get $200 to slap rubber gloves on and clean a urinal. I take $150 cash just to screw the state. He's just like, hey man, keeping me busy. Pulling out tampons from all those urinals. Ugh, what a weird time. Hey, Pinochet. Thanks for that. MJ Powell says, very nice dono, says, is Attorney General Bragg's favorite judge about to recuse himself? It's being reported on the YouTubes. Yeah, Eddie Block says, man, thank you for that dono. Yeah, it's a very nice dono. So let's look it up. Alvin Bragg. And so that would be Judge Merchan. I don't think he's going to recuse himself. Let's see if there's any breaking news on it. The last I saw was this story. He did delay one of the dates on it. Merchan is the judge in the Alvin Bragg case. And he adjusted some dates because Trump filed some additional motions. But I'm not seeing anything recently that he was recusing himself. I don't think he's going to recuse himself. They've tested it multiple times with him, trying to get him to recuse himself, and he has declined to do that. And I think at this late in the game, the last recusal motion was about Kamala Harris. So they said, okay, so if not recusing yourself because of Biden, you need to do it because of Kamala, because your daughter worked for Kamala for president. And I think he's still going to say no, but I haven't seen an order on that yet. But MJ, very nice dono. Thank you so much for sending that in. Very grateful. Hey, CF Rob is on Rumble, says it sounds like AWOL from training and combat. Away without leave. Could be. MJ Powell says, duh brag, DA brag. Yeah, that case. I have not seen anything on it. Maybe we'll do a court deep dive tomorrow. Thank you, MJ Powell. This one from Ray K. Oh my goodness, Ray K. Look at you, my friend. Super generous. Thanks. Bringing in Ray K from the UK. Bringing in Eagle 80. Jesse Wilson. T. Rees coming in. Nina Shaw. Left, right. B. Torn got one. Greg McNeely. Mary S. Shadow Wings. Lisa Etter. Pyramid 7. Lao Zhu got one. Tex Zombie. Richard G. Anthony Muma. Greg Silverado. AE 86 Life. John M. Evek. Irene Abbott and Rokin ×2, man. Gifted membos courtesy of Ray K. Ray K, thanks for doing that. Bringing in 20 new membos. Great to see you. Thanks, Ray K. And welcome aboard, new friends. If you missed this morning's stream, grab it. It was fun. Box Lane Production says Kamala Harris walks into a bar. Barman says, why the long face? Horse walks into a bar. Barman says, hello. MJ Powell says, something to be watched for. Yeah, definitely. We're keeping our eye on that one because sentencing's coming up. And the big question is, are they going to sentence him to jail or not? Since they didn't eliminate him another way, maybe they will. We'll keep our eye on that one. Stacey Milliken says Trump doesn't need to bribe celebrities and pander. No, he doesn't. No, he just has a lot of people who believe in him and actually what he does. Whereas the others are doing advertising campaigns. Hey, Voice is saying the same thing. A friend of mine got a Harris text today. They are targeting different areas, so keep a lookout for that too. It will tell you the plan. Yeah, it's interesting. Watch out for the scammers. Yeah, they're pulling out all the stops and they've got a ton of money. Hey, Debbie Marie is on Locals. What's up, Debbie Marie? Thanks for being a membo for so long. Diamond membo over there, over a year. Says, thanks as always for sharing this info with us. Lurking on both YouTube and Locals, but still love watching the watchers. Debbie, thanks for that. I'm a big lurker too, so I totally relate to that. I really appreciate you being here. And thanks for jumping in the chat, sending in a super chat, a dono. Very grateful to have you here. And we'll see you back in there, lurking away. Ray K says, your night stream is my 8 a.m. in Australia. Oh, you're in Australia, not the UK. I think I was looking at the flag and I thought it was the UK, but what do I know? Your night stream is my 8 a.m. in Australia. Perfect. That's great. What a great way to start the day. Good to see you, Ray K. Glad you get to hang with us in the mornings. So it's Thursday over there? You're living in the future? Hey, what's up, Hatch? Says Walz failed at the Army. Army values, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Slick right, 0 hours in combat. 0 hours in combat from Hatch. Thanks, Hatch, for sending that in. Yeah, and I think he's going to have to answer for that. We'll see if he does or not. If the media holds him accountable. They'll hold everybody else accountable on the right, but not their own. What's up? Robert the Great became a supporter. Nice to have you, Robert the Great. Thank you for becoming a YouTube membo. We will, of course, see all of our new membos on the members only stream tomorrow morning when we go live to talk about what the day has in store for us. Let's see who's joining us on X today before we jump over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We had a couple comments. Hey, what's up? Be Torn says, all right, so an Iranian plot with a Pakistani guy comes here to make plans to steal documents, plan a fake protest, and take out unspecified political officials. And the source and undercovers never got him to say their names, like who was behind it all. Trump isn't a political official, so that party isn't even applicable. Yeah, good to see you, Be Torn. Danny says, hate to say it, but I feel for Harris. She probably didn't know it about his record. I don't really, yeah, okay. You're a nice person, Danny. I don't give a crap. Hey, James Pepper says, is Merchant related to Judge Merchan? No, I don't think so. Yeah, hey, M Money says, I love how you said Jack Smith isn't a real boy. He wants to be a real boy. He's not. Jack Smith, you're not ever going to be a real boy because you're a fake prosecutor. That's entertainment. Thank you for that. Well, I stole that from Pinocchio. Hey, Peter Safety says distraction away from the actual murder for hire. That's a good point too. No, we got someone else. Like, we're doing really good work. We're stopping Iranian assassination plots. Give us more money, government. All right, I'm sure they will. So, my friends, thank you so much for sending those in. It has been a beautiful and amazing Wednesday stream. We covered a lot of good ground today. Tomorrow, we're going to come back, same time, same place, same location, and get into it all again. I want to thank our amazing mods who were in the chat, modding the fort down for us. We got our friends. What's up, KB? And I see over there. I think I saw Playing Hooky in the house. There he is. What's up, Playing Hooky? We also have Donut Mind Me, John McGarvey. We had Carrie B clipping for us this morning. And we got a bunch of amazing people who help keep this show on track. And we're grateful for our mods and our meme smiths. But my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. We are going to head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members only after party for our locals friends. We'd love to see you over there. We do members-only streams in the mornings, both on YouTube and on Locals, and after parties on Locals only. So come join us over there so we can have some fun. But if I don't see you over there, well, we're going to be back here tomorrow to get into it all again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.